Welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to do an update of my review that I did a year ago on the Apidura frame bag. Now a lot's changed since then, because when I did that first review I got around 500 kilometres experience with the bag. Now that's up to 10,000 kilometres, and I've had a lot more chance to actually go out on tour and use it in the wild, as they say. What I'm going to do today is look again at the review I did a year ago, pretty much only the highlights, and I'm going to tell you what's stayed the same and what's changed. Let's get to it.
First impressions of this bag. From what I've seen so far, I've been pretty impressed. I think the quality is actually very, very good. It looks and feels like it's made out of first-class materials. It's well put together and the zips are excellent. Even these reflective strips and logos, they look like there's been some care and effort in putting them together. But most importantly, it's made of 100% waterproof materials, which is very important. I've no complaints about this bag as far as quality is concerned.
I think my first impressions were pretty much on the money there. Certainly in one aspect, which is them being waterproof, which not all frame bags are. Now these, I've had them going through really deep water, past that first zip, still didn't leak in, through monsoons, no problem. Everything stayed absolutely bone dry inside. That's super important. So that really impressed me. However, although I gave them a 10 out of 10 on the first look, I can't really do that because there were a couple of faults with the bag, and the main one comes down to the fixing systems, which I'll now go on to.
As far as fixing systems are concerned, I think they're pretty good. The ones on the top are excellent. I've no complaints about these.
Unfortunately, I do have a complaint about the fixing system on the top tube. And to better explain that, let's take this outside. My problem is, well, although this one's okay, the one here really isn't. I've held it in place with a piece of tape because it's come apart here. I don't think that's very good. I've held it in place before with super glue, which didn't work. Now, a friend at bike shops said that the way to go is to use some of this stuff here. So I bought this today from 7-Eleven and hopefully that'll fix it. But I think on a bag at this kind of cost and this general quality, yeah, that's not too good really.
However, I have to say that the ones on the down tube and the seat tube could be a little bit thicker, and they are a little bit fiddly as well. Also, I'm not so keen on the way they fold back the excess material. That again makes it just a little bit fiddly. I do acknowledge though that they do need to be extra long because they have to accommodate all kinds of different frame sizes.
I think that was a very fair assessment. I still find those other fixing systems that aren't on the top tube super fiddly. I don't really like them, and I'm going to knock another mark off, not only from the quality but also from the fixing systems because of that problem on the top tube. 7 out of 10 on this occasion. Let's move on.
I'm actually pretty lucky here because I've got a big frame, which means I can go for the larger bag. This is the largest you can get. It's the 14-litre bag, and it has plenty of room for what I need. Now, depending on your bike, the size and shape of the frame, you may only be able to get a 6-litre bag. That's the smallest. They also make 7.5-litre and 12-litre bags. If you don't know what size to get, the website has a really good chart size. You can check depending on the type of frame you have and the make of the frame and also its size. refer to those charts and you'll get a very good idea of what size you need. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much all good. I've got this bag on the back of the seat post here. These combined with the kettle bags at the front, that'll give me a capacity of around about 30 litres. Now, normally what I use are two rear Ortela panniers which give me 40 litres of capacity, but when you haven't got a camping set up, I think this is probably going to be all I need. I don't envisage having anything on the front here. No front bag, no handlebar bag.
I absolutely love how much I can fit into this bag. It really is superb. I know I do have a big frame, as I previously stated, and it really does help, but I'm not changing my mind in anything I said from my first impressions a year ago. The capacity is epic, definitely a 9 out of 10.
There's a lot I like about this bag. I like the two compartments at the bottom of the bag. What I really like is the one on the left hand side, which is quite narrow, and it means you can fit things like your phone, keys, money, credit cards, the kind of things that you'd want easy to hand. But what I also like is the fact that you can divide the bag into two parts. There's an internal shelf. If you want it as one bag, yes, you can do that, but if you put on the Velcro shelf, that'll make it into two separate bags so you can store the heavier items at the bottom.
I wanted to stop here and mention about this split shelf because this is quite important. I didn't follow my own advice on a couple of occasions and stored heavier items on the top shelf, and that caused them to fall through because the Velcro just wouldn't hold what I was actually trying to store. It was fluids and a lot. If you do have fluids or very heavy items, yes, definitely keep them on that lower shelf because the Velcro isn't strong enough if you've got maybe 5-6 litres of water on the top compartment. One thing I didn't mention because I didn't even know it was there, there's something called a secret compartment on the right hand side, and rather than storing your credit cards or money in the left hand side, you can actually store it on the right hand side. And the fact that I didn't actually find it for about a month or two just tells you that it really is a secret compartment. Now let's take a look at that secret compartment. Now there it is. It's actually easier to see when you bent down. And there's not a lot of room in it, but enough for me to keep a little bit of money there and a few paracetamol just in case. So yeah, you get your keys, credit card in, but I didn't see that for a long time, so yeah, it's a great thing to have, and I really do like that secret pocket.
A couple of little things I don't like about the bag is the fact it's got this little flap here, and what that means is it can kind of interfere with the movement of your legs. I understand it's there as an extra protection on the zip so it doesn't let water in, but yeah, it can be a little bit annoying at times. The other thing is I'm not too sure when it's full if it is going to interfere with the movement of my legs, and that's just something I'll have to find out. Overall, despite those couple of niggles, I think it's a great bag.
Overall, this is a really practical bag and I really do love it, but those two problems are highlighted. One did become a real problem and the other not really. To better understand why, let's head outside again. Now, the first issue I talked about was actually this flap, and it has a tendency to flare out, so it can rub on your thighs. I found a solution to this. It's not perfect, but I've fixed my own Velcro here so that stays shut. I don't really like it. I don't like to have to do that, especially when you're unzipping and zipping, and it's not attached perfectly. I've done it on both sides. You can see it's coming away there. Yeah, this is something that's a bit of a pain, but it's better than this sticking up. I don't know why it does that. I'm wondering if it's possible to actually cold iron or warm iron that shut to just take the bag off. I really don't know, but I don't want to damage the bag. But that is something, yeah, I'm not happy with. The second thing I mentioned is if this gets full, I was concerned about it rubbing against my legs, but that's not been the case. So from that point of view, well, yeah, that's been a good thing.
I paid $150 for this bag. That is at the higher level of the spectrum, but I think the quality does justify the price. You can buy these kind of bags for as little as $30–40 on Amazon and eBay. They're no-name bags, but they won't be waterproof, they won't be as durable, they won't be as practical as something like the Apidura. Now, if you want to look for an alternative, things like the Reese strap, also $150 would be a good buy, and also the Autoleb, you can buy that for $100, and that would probably be a good alternative as well.
Nothing really has changed very much in this section. Prices are pretty much the same. The only thing I would add is that maybe something like a Rogue Panda could be a good alternative if you don't want to go for one of the other options I talked about. It's a custom made bag. The small reservation I have is I'm still not sure if it's 100% waterproof or not. If you do know, please let me know in the comments. But overall, still, as far as cost is concerned, a solid 8 out of 10. Overall, on this occasion, I've scored the bag 40 out of 50 rather than 43 out of 50. It's still a great bag, but there's some things that have just really bugged me. One of them is the fixing system. The strap that I'm having to repair, it's otherwise a good quality bag. I shouldn't have to repair it. And I do still find that fixing system a little bit fiddly, even though I don't take the bag on or off very often. In fact, not really at all. And that brings me to my point about how I've used this bag. Now, I bought it as part of a backpacking system, and I thought, okay, I'll use it instead of the traditional touring setup. And I have used it for that, and it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed bike packing rather than touring. However, I'm quite surprised that once the bag got onto the bike, it's just never come off, because I love it. And not for bike packing, but I use it just about every day. I'll ride in for a coffee somewhere, and on the way home I might stop, I might get some milk or bread or whatever, and it goes into that bag so easily. It is a bigger one, but it's superb. So I have ended up using this bag in a very, very different way to what I anticipated it I would do. I think if you want to get a frame bag, you should do it. They are really super, super practical. Would it be this one? Well, if it was only the fixing systems that were the problem, then maybe I would get the Apidura again. But one thing that just bugs me so much is the flap and the fact that it flares up. It's annoying. I understand why they have the flap. It's supposed to improve or help with waterproofing of the bag, but it's just bloody annoying. And they don't have one on the bottom compartment, and it's still waterproof, so I don't kind of get it. Having to fix the whole thing up with Velcro, it's not ideal. If I was buying another bag and it was definitely waterproof, then maybe I would look more closely at that option. Otherwise though, still a great bag, still love it. That's all for today. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe. And before you go, there's another couple of videos on screen that you might also enjoy watching. Take care.